Welcome back to the program. So, first and foremost, today marks the second year anniversary of October 7th, 2023, the horrific, absolutely depraved attacks against Jews in Israel. 1,200 people, 38 children, just an absolute horrific situation. And has anyone really been held accountable? Well, yeah, they have, because they're now all dead. The majority of people that were involved in the planning, organizing, and strategizing of the attack are now all dead with their 72 virgins and all that good stuff. And just a little extra message here for anyone else that wants to see it. But it looks like Yahya Sinwar, who basically was the mastermind of the whole thing, was hit and killed by a drone strike in October of 2024. Ismail Hanaya, another one of the main people that gave the green light for the attack, died in an explosion in Tehran in July of 2024. Mohammed Deif, commander of Hamas's military wing, the Al-Qassam Brigades, died in an Israeli airstrike in July of 2024. Marwan Issa, deputy commander of Al-Qassam Brigades, was also killed in March of 2024. He was another key strategist and planner. Mohammed Sinwar, the head of Hamas's armed wing and the younger brother of Yahya Sinwar, was also killed in May of 2025. According to most accounts, over 90%, 89.5% of the people involved in either the strategy, the organizing, the planning, or the execution of the attacks are dead. Okay? So yes, some people have been held accountable, but it's not enough. It's not enough. And on the anniversary, the 2-year anniversary, Israel, the IDF, and Mossad should be wiping out the rest of Hamas anywhere they are located around the world. It doesn't matter. They ought to say, as a celebration, here's how we're going to celebrate. Go out there and destroy Hamas 100% and take this peace deal and shove it, because I'm not a fan of it, and I am not going to be a fan of it at any point in history, because I don't believe that you can negotiate with terrorists. If I'm proven wrong and somehow the international community holds Hamas accountable, well, then maybe I'll change my tune, but it ain't going to happen. Okay? So there you go. Now, the other thing. Once again, I was correct, and I need to point this out. I said that the entire invasion, the entire war with Ukraine and Russia was really simple. It was to provoke Russia into this war in order to hide the bodies of the Biden crime family. From Barista Holdings to other people on other boards, to all the corrupt activities through paying off the oligarchs, to doing all kinds of war crimes and allowing them to do war crimes. The entire thing, if you remember, when the first beginning of the Ukraine and Russia war started, what did they have video of Ukraine doing in front of their embassy? Burning. That's right, burning documents to protect the Biden crime family. Well, guess what? Russia's Vladimir Putin just went and did an interview and said the reason for the war was to hide the Biden crime family crimes and corruption. So exactly as I said on day one of that war, now Putin has come out and said the same. And yes, I would believe Putin over any person from Ukraine at any day of the week and twice on Sundays. Okay? All right, next. Let's move on here. So, we need to talk about what I believe is happening and is going to happen soon. Now, I don't need to talk about, Bondi crushing them in the Senate hearings today. You can see that anywhere, okay? It's mental masturbation. It's not going to do anything to make the country better or safer or anything like that. You want to watch that and talk about it, you can do that. However, Venezuela is not only an issue and a problem, Venezuela is our next target. And I'm pretty confident that we are going to be at war with Venezuela in very short order. Now, it won't be a long, drawn out, conflict. This is Venezuela. They can't fight back. There's nothing they can do. Literally nothing they can do. What are they going to do? Ask their friends in Cuba? Give me a break. Okay? So nothing's going to happen. But I think it's important to figure out when this is all going to take place. And if you look at the timelines, I'd say by the end of the year, if not even sooner. So the FBI is now taking down money laundering operations that are tied to Nicolas Maduro. In other words, he is part of them. He's a co-conspirator. He has money through these drug cartels. They are paying him to operate. So he is indeed a drug cartel leader. I want people to understand that about Maduro. So these two men were indicted by the Department of Justice to put pressure on Maduro. So besides these military strikes against these drug boats that we've seen, 4 or 5 of them, however many there's been, that's been the first stage of this kinetic war, if you will. The second stage is the amphibious training that's going on in Puerto Rico, and the fact that they are practicing land invasions, basically, is what they're doing, bringing the ships in, bringing the military ships into the area in the Caribbean. These are all part of phase 2. Of course, recognizing and labeling Trendiagra as one of the 11 narco-terrorist international terrorist organizations was really the infancy stage. It was the setup to what we are about to witness. Because first you had to do that in order to facilitate the ability to take down these drug cartels. And that's exactly what they're doing. Now, they're not going to tell you that because they don't want to tell you that. But in reality, if you look at all the dots and you put all the dots in the right spots on the scoreboard, you can see what's happening. Okay? So besides the major military deployment of assets in the Caribbean, multiple reports of warnings of possible ground operations in Venezuela, other areas of the U.S. government are also focused in curtailing this reign of terror of Nicolas Maduro, the butcher of Caracas, as he's being labeled. The Treasury Department and the Department of Justice, both collectively, are working against this international arms of these criminal cartels, and in particular, their focus is on Venezuela. The FBI says that 2 men have been indicted in connection with an alleged money laundering scheme and operation tied to the Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and his children. The indictments come after a year-long investigation that dates back to 2019, when the FBI's Miami field office launched this probe based on indications that Eric Kamarzik opened U.S. bank accounts for Maduro's children and their U.S.-based associates. Suspicious activity reports, or SARS reports, allegedly showed that Kamarzik received wire transfers from individuals and businesses in Venezuela, according to the FBI. Kamarzik and his associate, Erasnar Carbajal, allegedly moved $100,000 of suspected sanctioned money belonging to members of the Venezuela regime. The men are said to have moved about $25,000 into the United States. FBI's Director Kash Patel said that the money laundering schemes are linked to Maduro and are in fact criminal lifelines for his broken down regime. Quote, Nicolas Maduro is not just another corrupt strongman. He is an indicted narco-terrorist dictator with a $50 million bounty on his head from the United States Department of Justice, Patel said in an exclusive statement to Fox News Digital. His regime's laundering schemes are nothing more than criminal lifelines for a failing dictatorship, and under my leadership, this FBI will continue to choke off every dollar, every account, and every enabler. America will never be a safe haven for Maduro's blood money. Now, that's what he said. Now, today, President Trump has ordered everyone to stop all diplomatic talks with Venezuela. Let me repeat that. No more talking, no more bullshit. We are in phase three. Phase three is basically more than likely a land invasion. Now, when is it going to happen? I don't know. My guess is, though, before the end of this year, maybe even next month. We'll have to see. So here's what it says. The board is set and the pieces are on it, and they are moving. 2 days ago, Donald Trump presided over a grand celebration marking the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Navy's founding, called Titans of the Sea, a Salute to the Fleet. Trump headlined a massive rally, live gathering joined by First Lady Melania Trump, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and Navy Secretary John Phelan. In his 45-minute speech, Trump explicitly mentioned Venezuela multiple times, celebrating that the, quote, Navy has supported our mission to blow the cartel terrorists the hell out of the water. Okay? Listen more. He also hinted at a land-based operation, saying that the U.S. would turn its attention to drug trafficking happening on land. Listen. Make sure this is loud.
In recent weeks, the Navy has supported our mission to blow the cartel terrorists the hell out of the water. You see that? And you know, there are no boats in the water anymore. You can't find any. We're having a hard time finding them. But you know, it's a pretty tough thing we've been doing, but you have to think of it this way. Every one of those boats is responsible for the death of 25,000 American people and the destruction of families. So when you think of it that way, what we're doing is actually an act of kindness. But we did another one last night. Now we just can't find any. You know, it's the old story. We're so good at it that there are no boats. In fact, even fishing boats, nobody wants to go into the water anymore. Sorry to tell you that. But it's we're stopping drugs coming into America, if that's okay. We're stopping drugs at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Last year, we lost, I believe, 300,000 people. And that's not talking about the destruction to families. Every one of us knows families that have been destroyed because the son, daughter, even mothers and fathers are destroyed by the fentanyl pouring in and drugs pouring in. Well, they're not coming in by sea anymore, so now we'll have to start looking about the land, because
they're not coming by sea anymore. Now we'll have to hunt them on land. That's what he said. And Secretary of War Pete Hegseth told his commanders, what you're doing right now is not just for training, end quote. So putting those comments together, clearly, and cutting off diplomatic ties in speaking with them about any type of resolution, what other scenario can you come up with other than the fact that we're training right now in Puerto Rico for landings on land, and they're going to go after the ports, they're going to go after where the drugs are being located. So this is going to be the next phase of this war. And I'm telling you, it's going to look like something, from Commando, from Rambo, where they basically parachute in or whatever and start shooting everybody and blowing up all the different fields full of drugs. So it's going to get interesting. It's going to get interesting quick. So we'll see what happens. All I know is that when the Trump administration and this president says he's going to do something, the people that are doing bad things, well, they better take him serious. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one. Is that the one I wanted there? Welcome back to the program. So this was a story from just 2 days ago, and I was going to cover it, and then of course there were some other pressing issues, so I ended up covering some other different things, but I kept coming back to this one because it was so terrifying and so weird and so strange that I had to kind of dig a little bit deeper into this, and I'm kind of glad that I took a couple of days to do that because this is just so weird. You just have to hear it, okay? So Bill Gates, the globalist, and Tony Blair, another big-time globalist, right, are backing AI-appointed people. Now, they're not really people. They're artificial intelligence that look like people. They're not even robots, for that matter. They're just AI. And they want them to be part of globalist governments in cabinet positions. That's right. Listen to this. Bill Gates, Tony Blair back AI-appointed world's first AI government minister. Quote, "I'm not here to replace humans," says an AI woman wearing traditional Albanian clothing, a light-colored headscarf, and an embroidered robe. She stands before the flag of Albania and the European Union and adds, quote, "Some have labeled me unconstitutional because I am not human. This hurts me." So that automatically makes it seem to me is that these AIs now have the ability to get to that one threshold that once they have the ability to know of what they are and have that ability to be what they think they are and they're not, well, then they're recognizing that. And that's fucked up. Okay? Once they reach the phase of not accountability, what is that word? Self-awareness. 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 That's it. Welcome back to the program. So I have to say, this is a story that came out about 2 days ago, and I was going to cover it at the time, but with everything going on, there were so many other pressing issues that I actually put it on the back burner, and I was thinking, well, hopefully I'll get to it. Well, I did a little bit more digging, and it's really a frightening scenario. And we already know that I'm no fan of AI. I know many of you are not fans of artificial intelligence either. But now there's a globalist push to have AI ministers in actual governments making decisions. Okay? This is terrifying. Listen to this story. Leftists and globalists, Bill Gates and Tony Blair, back an AI-appointed government minister in the country of Albania. "I'm not here to replace humans," says a AI woman wearing traditional Albanian clothing, a light-colored headscarf, and an embroidered robe. She stands before the flags of Albania and the European Union and adds, quote, "Some have labeled me unconstitutional because I am not human. This hurts me." Really? So that would mean that AI, if they can feel things, is now at that level of danger that we were talking about months ago or years ago, which is what? Self-awareness. They are now at a level in their technology and advancements that they are self-aware. So what does that mean? If they're self-aware, that means that they would go against whoever is programming them. And that is where the danger of AI resides. The speaker in Minister Diella, an artificial intelligence system that delivered a 3-minute video speech during its introduction to Albania's parliament. In September 2025, Prime Minister Edi Rama appointed Diella as Minister of State for Artificial Intelligence. Imagine that. You have a fake person, artificial intelligence, in charge of artificial intelligence. Oh, gee, what could possibly go wrong from that? Nothing I can think of. Holy cow. Then it says, Diella, whose name means son in Albanian, was developed by the National Agency for Information Society in partnership with Microsoft, using large language models from OpenAI. The AI is visually represented as a woman from the Zadrima region, portrayed by Albanian actress Anila Bisha. Roma said Diella will oversee public procurement to ensure that tenders are 100% free of corruption and fully transparent. Government contracting has long been a source of corruption in Albania, a country seeking membership in the European Union. Diella was initially launched in January of 2025 as a virtual assistant on the e-Albania platform, helping citizens access government services and documents. However, by mid-year, the system had processed nearly 1 million digital interactions, paving the way for its promotion to being a cabinet member. Prime Minister Edi Rama described the appointment as part of a broader modernization effort to improve efficiency and transparency as Albania advances towards European Union membership by 2030. Gee, I wonder if the European Union told them, if you want to be part of the European Union in the future, you need to embrace artificial intelligence, including being the first country to put one in your cabinet. You never know, right? Well, it gets worse, because we all know about George Soros, right? Globalist, Open Society Institute. Hopefully we're taking that one down and dismantling it. We know about the World Economic Forum, another globalist organization. We know about the Aspen Institute here in America, in Colorado, another globalist institution. There are so many of them. The Bilderbergs, I mean, the list is endless, right? Well, there's a new one that everybody needs to know about, okay? It's called TBI, all right? That's what it's called. And it stands for the Tony Blair Institute. And yes, it is another globo-techno dictatorship in the making, okay? Tony Blair used to be the Prime Minister of England many years ago, right? The Tony Blair Institute for Global Change, just the name alone sounds so globalist, doesn't it? Has unveiled its, quote, reimagined state initiative, a sweeping plan to use artificial intelligence and digital technology to reshape the way governments operate and ultimately to change how people live their lives. The stated goal is to make public services more efficient, less costly, and more effective. However, the deeper implications raise some serious concerns about privacy, about freedoms, about a centralized control of government, and a digital autocracy. The proposal calls for AI-powered digital assistants to streamline how citizens interact with government services, AI tools to help civil servants automate casework and routine tasks, and a national policy twin, a data platform designed to simulate policy outcomes and guide decision making. The TBI has already implemented this alleged aid to government decisions, making Albania's parliament in September of 2025, Prime Minister Edi Rama appointed Diella as the Minister of State for Artificial Intelligence, making it the world's first AI to hold a cabinet-level position. But the role of the AI minister named Diella is not to aid in decision-making, but to actually make decisions. That's the difference. Because as Diella said in her introductory speech, the problem of the past has not been machines, but rather the poor decision-making of humans. Again, self-awareness. These fucking machines and these AIs are going to turn against us. Okay? I'm telling you right now, in the future, in the next 5 to 7 years, these things are going to advance to the point where they're going to turn against us. They're not going to listen to the creators. They're not going to listen to the software that's been put into them. They've reached a level of self-awareness, and they're going to turn on us, and it's going to be very, very dangerous. TBI argues that the digital transformation of the reimagined state is necessary to solve the UK's fiscal crisis, declining public services, and stagnant economy. How about just replace the leaders and have another Trump-like person in the UK fix all the problems? You don't need AI to do it. You need someone with a brain, a heart, and someone that's based on freedom and making sure that everybody has the ability to make a living without the government getting in the way and being intrusive. So then it goes on to say, embedded within this vision, however, is a plan to make government data fully interoperable across departments and to implement a nationwide digital ID system. There it is, mark of the beast, just like we've been talking about. An infrastructure that would give the state unprecedented access to personal information. What do I always say, including in Preserving Liberty? I always say what? Tyranny is sold as convenience. Oh, we're going to make all the paperwork quicker. We're going to make decisions faster. We're going to make you not have to wait online to speak with someone for 2 hours. Everything will be quicker and automative and all this other bullshit. Yeah, meanwhile, at your expense, tyranny is sold as convenience. Former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, who leads the Institute, has called digital ID, quote, an essential part of modern digital infrastructure. Under his plan, each citizen will be assigned a single digital identifier linking personal health records, tax records, welfare, and immigration records. More alarmingly, such a system could give the state the power to track citizens and the ones that do not agree with government, of course, exclude them from services as punishment. In other words, turning them off and kicking them outside of society. Oh, no, we won't make it permanent. No, we won't make it mandatory. But if you want to go to the store, if you want to drive your car, if you want to get into your house, if you want to go to work, if you want to go here, do this, do that, well, you'll need a digital ID. Otherwise, well, you're just, SOL. That's how they work and operate. They always have. So then it says, bank accounts could be frozen, access to air travel restricted, movement monitored through electronic tolling systems. Since the same global advocates are pushing for electric vehicles, the ability to charge one's car could also be suspended. In effect, an individual's mobility and their financial access could all be controlled from a central government computer system. Exactly what we've been warning against. Policies like the Green New Deal could be enforced digitally by cutting off electricity or water once a monthly limit has been exceeded. Or how about canceling flights? You need to fly somewhere, you need to go somewhere? Nope, sorry. Not after your air travel pollution credits have run out. You're going to be grounded. Critics warn that Tony Blair's future of Britain and reimagined state and their initiatives are not mere modernization efforts, but blueprints for a global technocratic system. By linking digital identity systems, central bank digital currencies, and cross-border data networks, the Tony Blair Institute, TBI, promotes a framework that could enable digital totalitarianism. That's right, where access to essential services depends on government's approval. There it is. This is what we are fighting. And this is the future of the world in a lot of respects, because this is how it's moving. And if we're allowed to allow this global entity to pass digital ID, and then somehow, God forbid, in the future, some left-leaning person is running America, God forbid, and they decide to allow this global new technocratic authoritarian regime that has no electoral power rule over us, what happens then? You see what I'm saying? This is very, very dangerous stuff. And do I have a solution for it? Well, not necessarily, but I think at this point people need to know about it, and they need to spread this type of information. Information is power, and we need to push back. I mean, perfect example, in Australia, they wanted to keep, I believe, people under the age of 16 off of social media. Now, quite frankly, I don't think little kids should be on social media, but that's not the point. The point is the people in Australia were so upset about it, they pushed back, and guess what? They're not doing that anymore. Now, I actually agree. We shouldn't have children under the age of 16 on social media, ever, for any reason. I don't care. You don't need games. You don't need any of that stuff. You can do it on PlayStations. You can do it on that. It doesn't have to be hooked up to the internet. You can go old school, where you're not playing against strangers in another country that turn out to be pedophiles that are grooming your children, okay? Roblox and others. So in reality, I actually think that they shouldn't be. But it just goes to show you that the masses pushed back in Australia, and they backed off on doing something like that. So it's important that people know about this. And more importantly, what's most important is to teach people that tyranny is sold as convenience. And when they talk about something that they think is good, or it's going to be efficient, or it's going to be great for the economy, or it's going to be this or that, say, really? How does it affect your freedom? That should be the number one question. How does it affect your freedom? And if they don't know the answer, that's when you explain how tyranny is sold as convenience. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.